Tips and Tricks with Teacher Michelle. Hello, Teacher Michelle here, and I wanted to show you a little tip with setting up your assessment classroom. Okay, so there are two types of assessments. The first assessment is also is done at the midpoint of the unit, and there's no project. But you can talk about the final project if there's time. If not, don't worry about it. But for a lot of students who kind of breeze through the assessment, you can talk about the final project. It's at the very end of the slides after the goodbye slide, and I'll show you that. Assessment 2 happens at the end of the unit. There is a final project. So you assess the project at the beginning, but if there isn't a project and there's time allows, then you can do it on the blank workspace at the end. Some people do it at the beginning. It's up to you. I like to do it at the end because if we're struggling to finish it, I rather finish the rest of the assessment and not do the project than do the project and not finish the assessment. So that's why I do it at the end. It's up to you, but you can use that blank workspace at the end to essentially have them do their project right there. Okay, so here we are in the classrooms, the classrooms page. We're going to go to my assessments. I have 2 tomorrow. Right here is Learning Cycle 2. Okay, so that's a second assessment, and here I have a first assessment. So I'm going to go to my classroom and set up my classroom for it. So right here is unit assessment 1. It's the midpoint. There is no project, but you can talk about it. It's at the very end here. You can talk about it if there is time. Okay, so here's the goodbye song and then the goodbye slide. But after the goodbye slide is your final project menu. And here is each individual option, and you can go through them. Here's the blank workspace, and everything but the pre-VIP is at the very, very end. Okay, so to see your assessment form, you can go to feedback, and then I'm going to click this little arrow, which is going to put it down at the bottom here, which is pretty cool. You can fill it out as a student goes along. If I know the student, or a student is just breezing through, then I usually wait to the end, pull it up, and I just go and do it really quickly. But if you know the student and he or she may have some trouble, or you don't know the student very well and you need to go through each individual one because they may or may not need help or they may or may not know it, then you can pull it up and go through in each individual one. All right, so I'm going to put this back on the first slide. For assessment 1, I leave it on the very first slide. But for assessment 2, I set things up just a little differently. I go to the classroom. Okay, so for assessment 2, I set things up a little differently. I put, when I go in the night before or the morning of before the class, and I set up my classroom, I leave it on the final project menu. That way if the kids log on, this can hopefully trip a little thought process of, oh no, I have to do my final project. And they can work on it in that little bit of time while they're waiting for class to start. So I set it up here, and then I exit out of the classroom, teach, and then come back, and it will still be on this page. So I'll show you. I exit out of the classroom, and I'm going to come back to Maggie's assessment. Whoops. To Maggie's classroom. Sorry about that. To Maggie's classroom. And here it is. It's still on there. Okay. I can add my feedback. It will be underneath by hitting the button there, that arrow. And here it is. And then make sure that you add in something about their project right down there. All right, so their final project, this is where you assess it. And then there isn't one at the end. So the goodbye slide is actually the goodbye slide. All right, so there you go. This is setting up your classroom for an assessment. I will catch you in the next video. Keep on teaching.